The scaffold boards creak under your boots. Your palms are slick inside leather gloves, and the sword's weight drags at your shoulders like a yoke. Nearly 4 pounds of Passau steel. No point, only edge, built for one purpose. Below you, 3,000 faces have gone silent. Not reverent, hungry. Somewhere a child coughs and the sound carries like a gunshot. Sweat crawls into your eyebrow, threatening your eye, and you cannot wipe it away because both hands are locked around the grip. The condemned man kneels before you, wrists bound, neck bared, praying in a whisper you can no longer hear over the blood in your own ears. One clean stroke and you are a craftsman doing God's grim arithmetic. One botched stroke, a nicked collarbone, a scream instead of silence. And this crowd will remember you forever as a butcher. They will drag you off this platform themselves. You breathe once. You lift the blade into the gray morning light. Steel doesn't hesitate. You cannot either. The stroke falls. It is over before the crowd exhales. Somewhere behind you, a priest mutters absolution he does not mean for you. You wipe the edge, sheath the sword, and walk down from the scaffold into a life built entirely around what your hands just did. You have felt the other outcome. Once, in a market town you no longer name aloud, your grip slipped a half-inch on the downswing, and the blade caught the jaw instead of the neck. The condemned man did not die. He screamed. A sound with no bottom to it, a sound that unhinges a crowd faster than any sermon, and his body pitched forward against the ropes, blood arcing across the first 3 rows of onlookers who had come to watch a clean death and instead wore one on their sleeves. You remember the exact half-second the crowd stopped being a crowd and became something else. A woman's shriek broke first, then a man's boot found the scaffold steps, then hands were on you, tearing at your collar, at your hair, dragging you down into the mud among the very people who had cheered your last 20 executions without complaint. The town guard beat back the mob with pike staves, not out of mercy for you, but because a lynched executioner leaves no one willing to take the post next season. You finished the stroke on your knees, in the dirt, blade shaking, while the crowd screamed for a second man to be sent up in your place. That night you did not sleep. You lay listening for footsteps outside your door, certain that this was the execution that would finally be remembered as yours to answer for, regardless of how many clean deaths had come before it. That evening you push open the door of the tavern nearest the town wall. Conversation dies before you cross the threshold. Men who spent the afternoon cheering your work now shift their stools away from your table, as if execution might be caught like plague. The innkeeper does not reach for a clean mug. He reaches for your mug, the one kept behind the counter solely for you, chained to a hook so it cannot wander into honest hands. No other lips may touch what has touched yours. You drink alone, in the corner nearest the door, because that is the only seat anyone will leave vacant for you. This is the architecture of your existence in the German lands of the 1500s. Unehrlich, dishonorable, not criminal, worse than criminal in some ways because a thief can repent and rejoin the guild halls. You cannot. The taint is not in what you did. It is in what you are. Guilds bar you and your children from membership. Church pews reserve you a place near the door, if at all, so decent parishioners need not kneel beside you. Bakers will not sell you bread directly. They set it on the counter's edge and step back before you take it. The coin you pay left untouched by human fingers until it can be purified in vinegar or fire. Your children inherit this curse as surely as they inherit your name. A hangman's son cannot apprentice to a smith, a tanner, a weaver. Every honest trade closes its door the moment your surname is spoken. Your daughter will not marry a farmer's boy, however much they love each other. His family would be shamed by association with your blood. The only marriages permitted to your children are to the sons and daughters of other executioners, other knackers, other gravediggers, the whole quarantined class of the unehrlich, scattered across 100 territories, connected by letters and reputation and the terrible convenience of shared disgrace. Executioner dynasties form this way, the Brants, the Dibelers, generation after generation trapped inside the same profession because no other door will open. You did not choose this life so much as inherit it, the way you inherited your father's calloused hands and his particular way of testing a blade's edge against his thumbnail. And yet you are needed. That is the unbearable joke sewn into the fabric of your days. The council pays your wage from the town treasury. The judge nods to you before every session. Without you, there is no justice, only chaos, only mobs administering their own crude vengeance in the street. You are indispensable and untouchable in the same breath, essential and unclean in the same hour. If leaving the sword meant your family starved, but keeping it meant no honest man would ever look you in the eye again, would you still climb those scaffold steps? Say it honestly in the comments below. I read every one of them. But you do not have the luxury of sitting with that question tonight, because a soft knock has just come at your back door, long after the shutters were closed, and this visitor is not here for justice. You crack the door and a shape steps from the shadow. A merchant's wife, hood drawn low, coin already pressed into her palm. She does not want conversation. She wants the rope, the very rope that hanged this morning's condemned, cut into finger lengths, is said to cure fevers when tied around a sick child's wrist. Harvesting that rope is its own grim labor, done before dawn while the body still hangs where the crowd left it. You climb the ladder in the dark, knife in your teeth, and saw through the fibers above the noose, not so the cut lengths keep their shape for selling. The body sways under your weight as you work, and you have learned not to look at the face, only at the rope, because the face stays with you longer than any nightmare should. You coil what you cut into a satchel and lower the corpse to the men waiting to cart it to the boneyard, and by the time the town wakes for market, you already have buyers lined up who will never admit in daylight that they know your name. The fat is worse and slower, and the smell never fully leaves your kitchen no matter how many times you scrub the pot with vinegar and lye. Rendering it means low heat for hours, a covered pan, and windows shuttered so the smell does not carry to neighbors who would recognize it and know exactly what you are cooking. It smells nothing like a roasting joint of pork, whatever the old wives claim. It is thinner, sharper, with an edge that catches in the back of your throat and stays there for days. You skim the clear fat from the surface and strain it through linen into small clay jars, sealed with wax, sold by the spoonful to women treating their husbands' aching joints, apothecaries who will resell it under a Latin name that hides its origin, and midwives who swear by it for a difficult birth. You do this work alone at night because no assistant will stand in the room while you do it, and because some things a man does not want another man to have witnessed him doing. She is not the only caller. Before midnight, you will sell shavings of the gallows wood to a farmer convinced it wards off blight. Skull fragments, ground fine, are stirred into wine against epilepsy. A finger bone, kept in a pocket, is thought to bring luck at cards. Even the chair you use to break bones on the wheel, its splinters are gathered as charms against toothache. These are the same townspeople who crossed the street from you at noon. The same council members who would not let their tailor touch your coat. By lantern light, none of that matters. Your hands, filthy in daylight, become miraculous in darkness. You are shunned at the well and sought at the threshold, spat upon in the square and begged from in the shadows. Executioners across the empire built entire secondary trades on this hypocrisy. Some grew wealthier from selling remedies than from the executions themselves, becoming quiet, unlicensed physicians because barber surgeons often apprenticed under you, watching you dissect and cauterize with more skill than any guild-trained doctor. Skill earned entirely from cutting into the bodies other men refused to touch. Sleep comes slowly when it comes at all. You lie awake calculating which sin weighs heavier, the sword you swing in daylight or the remedies you sell at night, both of them keeping food on your table, both of them making you the very thing this town cannot survive without and refuses to acknowledge. Here is the truth this profession forces into the light. No society wants innocent blood on its own conscience. So it built you instead, paid you, robed you in black, handed you the blade, and then stepped back to keep its own hands clean. Every crowd that watched you swing that sword walked home telling themselves they had nothing to do with the killing. You did the deed. You carried the sin they could not bear to hold themselves. If this is the first time you've heard what civilization actually costs, subscribe now. We are nowhere near finished dragging the worst jobs in history back into the light.